So one thing I was considering here was replacing this hard line. It's a 1/4 inch hard line, and it connects into this filter. Now this filter is a 5/16 filter, so we essentially, a fuel line here to connect between the 1/4 inch and 5/16, and then the 5/16 up to the inlet, which looks like it's probably also 5/16. I could go to a larger hose. Could go to a larger hose, but I do like this setup. And this is the 1/4 inch setup. This is, it actually does work. This comes up, reserve, which is your other tank, lets it through, whole deal. So I really don't want to mess with that either because it's not leaking. I do need to take the tanks out. So maybe I'll reassess after I take that all apart. But for now, I think I'm probably just going to stick with this hard line 1/4 inch and just kind of clean out the lines and clean out the tank. Alright, I'll go ahead and take this piece off, then I'm just gonna always second guessing myself. Alright, not bad. No spillage. Alright, go ahead and look at the filter while we go and let the gas out. And you should start seeing some stuff moving around in there. We're barely flowing fuel. Yeah. Maybe I should find a 1/4 inch hose and put it on there instead. Yeah, because that filter is plugged. Alright, shutting off the gas. I'll be right back. Well, I hooked up a 1/4 inch piece of hose and now it seems to be flowing fine. I hate going that. This is not cheap, and then it starts to harden up. Whatever. So let's go take a look at the tanks. See what we got inside. Got a flashlight. I don't know if you can see. Let's see how much of a mess it is. Yeah, you see a lot of garbage down there at the bottom collecting. Some floaters. Looks like a ladybug. I don't know how she got in there. And I mean, overall it's not so bad on this side. You see some peeling down there. All that needs to come out, I think. You can see that. Looks like fingers. I can't get in there with the actual camera. That was a little difficult to take off. Alright. See the valve. I don't see anything floating. I don't know, maybe it's just rust. Yeah, let's see. We'll empty it out. I'll get a better view off camera, and then we can decide what we're going to do. I don't know if you can see it, but there's a lot of these little black speckles in there. Is that in focus? So I did look at the tank a little harder. It actually looks pretty good. There's a little bit of pitting. The rust is minimal, but there's like a lot of black at the bottom, and it looks like little rust flakes. I think what I'll probably end up doing is running a metal restore through this. See if I can dissolve all that rust and get all that, etch all that out of there, and without having to take the tanks off. It's kind of a pain to take these tanks off. I've done it many times, but every time I do it, something gets broken, so I don't want to risk that. I think that once I get the, what's it called? Metal restore? No, I'm using something else. Evaporust. Yeah, that stuff works great. I have like 5 gallons of it, so I should be able to fill up a full tank maybe most of the other. I think it's probably a good 5 gallons, so 4 gallons, maybe 3 gallons. I forget. It's not the big fat tank. Then we'll see how it goes. Like maybe flush out all that debris in there, or vacuum it out, and I don't have to take the tanks off. And like I said, I haven't seen any of that stuff floating around there, which I expected to see. So let's just drain this out and we'll take it from there. I have to let these tanks dry out for a few days, and then I can try filling them up. Back to working on the Panhead this weekend, and went ahead and filled up this tank with Evaporust. I had to go out and buy another gallon. I only had 3. This is a 4-gallon tank, so I got it filled right up to the top there. So I'm going to go ahead and drain this out. It's been sitting in there for a couple of days, so there should be, we've had plenty of time to do its job, and it works quite well. So I'm going to drain this out, come back with some water, rinse out the tanks, and hopefully I can do it with it still on the bike, just pouring some water in there, swishing it around. I just need to get that film, the rest of this Evaporust out. Just drain this out. This stuff is good because it's reusable, and it's also not bad for the environment if you happen to spill it. I've used this on another tank already. You just have to be careful not to get too much grease into it. It's better to clean out the tanks. I let this essentially sit with the tops off for a few days so that it could air out all the gas that was in there. Okay. I don't know if you could see that in there. Let's see if I can move this around. Can you see the floaters? In any case, it looks like it worked pretty good. It's really hard to get the camera in there to see anything. I'll see if I can maybe get the scope. Put some pictures up there with the scope. This is probably, I don't know, maybe, was it 1 gallon? Let's go with 1 gallon of water. Alright, I found it. So I'm just going to slosh this around, hopefully get it to rinse out the whole tank. We'll drain it out, do that a few times. Then I'll put a hot air down in here to help dry it all out. What I'll do now is just drain this back in. I'll do the right side tank a couple of times, and I'll do the left side tank a couple of times, and then I'll get in there, dry it out, and vacuum it out. How disgusting that water is. It's green. That's probably some of the oxidation caused by probably oxidation caused by the Evaporust. I think the Evaporust is relatively clear, though maybe it has a green tint to it. Either way, we'll let this drain out, and I'll do this a few more times, and hopefully that'll be the whole thing. Yeah, after a couple of rinses, the water's coming out pretty clean now. I'm on the left side of the tank. I'm going to do one more run of water through it. Drop some paper towels in there, see if I can soap up everything that's left. Dry it out really good. A lot of vacuum cleaner in there, whatever I can do to get any of the particles or whatever's left in there without having to take it off the bike. I don't know if this is a lot more work or not. I just remember these tanks were really difficult to get on and off the bike. Kind of tricky. The worst part, of course, is the petcock, where it connects up into the tank. It doesn't seal great. It took me a while to get that to seal, so it's one of the reasons I don't want to take the tanks off, is I really don't want to break the seal, which took me a long time to get in place. So hopefully this works out. Alright, I got these rinsed out. I'm going to go ahead and use the heat gun here just to put some hot air inside the tanks. dry them out. This should hopefully, once they're, you really can't see in there, but it is much better. Once I get these completely dried out, I'll run the vacuum cleaner down in there just to get any additional stuff. And hopefully that'll be it. I can go ahead and put the rest of the fuel system back together, and I can move on to the next part. The problem with taking this apart is now I have to replace the seals and the gaskets here. So I don't know. Hopefully I won't have to replace this rubber down in here. Definitely will have to replace this. So that means everything's going to come apart. So here's the crossover to the other side that has to come off. So this giant bolt comes out. Out of the way. Nope. Fun. Is that loose enough? It might be. I did take these out again because after I took them out, you can see that the little spot right there is flaking off. So I need to throw some rocks in there. I bought some acetone, but that's going to be really messy, so I'm going to try to avoid that. Maybe I could just break all that extra stuff off with the rocks or BBs and you know, scrape it out with a brush. Maybe I can get a brush in there. I don't know. We'll see. We'll figure out what we can do with that. And then, of course, you know, I got to cut new gaskets for here, put this all back together, and without losing parts. So that's it. That's on the agenda today. Yeah. Say hi, Winnie. Come to hang out with Pawpaw. All right. Alright, so I'm taking a look at this fuel shut-off valve. It's obviously pretty dirty and just needs to be cleaned up. Here's the cap. The problem is here. So look at the parts book, part 38, which is this part right here. I believe that screws in. So I went and ordered essentially this whole top kit, and I also ordered these two bushings down here. The washers. I need to see if I can get this off of here. It looks like it's painted on. So I'm trying to figure out the best way to do this. Maybe I can just cut it and peel it off. I don't know. Brute force. I want to try to avoid screwing up any more paint on this thing. I mean, it's not exactly the best paint job anymore. There are a lot of dings and stuff, some breaks, so it's not like catastrophic. It just, we'll call it character. My addition to the character of this bike. However, if I can get this fixed up right and working properly again to where it's not just dropping down, then who knows, maybe in a year or two I'll take this out and have it completely stripped and repainted. Don't know why that was left on there when they painted it. Maybe the guy just didn't know any better, or maybe he couldn't get it off of there. We're gonna find out. All right, I tried persuading it with this, and all it did was pull off paint. I was able to grab it with the, what are these called? Vice grips. I was able to grab it with the vice grips, I got it to loosen up, so now I should just be able to go in here, take this off. Oh, man, yeah, that's not as easy as it looks, is it? Alright, so we'll just go and, yeah, there it is. There's a piece of paint. You can see this thing does need to be repainted. I do have the paint for this. I was given, you know, a bottle of it. Who knows if it's any good anymore? I mean, the paint's probably 30 years old, maybe more. I think he had this thing painted in around the early 90s. Then when he moved back home, he brought it in boxes, and everything had a nice paint job. And this isn't the result of weathering for years. This is just, you know, sitting in boxes, and how this just kind of, paint just kind of chipped off of this. Yeah, so, who knows? Maybe I'll meet the painter one day and ask him what he was thinking or smoking that day. They seem to miss an awful lot. Alright. Cool. That's awesome. So now I have the other parts are in order. I probably won't get them for a few days. So at least this is good. Now I can actually get a new seal, spring, and all that. I have all new caps. Yeah, I'm going with sticking with the chrome. New one of these. All these parts are coming in, as well as these two gaskets at the bottom, which these are brass. The last time I used them, they didn't really seal very well, so I may end up just going with cork like I did last time. But you know, I like to try to do things the way the book has it first, and when that doesn't work, then I improvise. So moving on, like this other tank seems perfectly fine, other than just needing a good cleaning. I had these things sitting with the evapro rust, and that seemed to get rid of some of the stuff in them, but I do need to run some aggregate through there and shake it up. You really can't see it here. I think it's on the other tank. You could literally see like paint peeling off down in here. So that is something I need to deal with before this goes back on the bike. If you can see that, it's right up where you can get it. That means that there's a lot where you can't get it. So, all right, I'm going to move on from this, and I have to see what I have to throw in here. I do have some BBs, like a little steel BBs. I don't know if that's going to do much because they're round. The other thing I could do is throw sand in there or rocks. Some people just throw a bunch of nuts and bolts. Okay, so I'm working on just cleaning these tanks out right now. I already did this one. All I'm doing is just putting these 1 1/4 inch drywall screws in there. They got points and nice sharp sides here, and basically just sliding it all around in there. Try to get off any kind of this surface junk. I'm not doing it wet because it's about 20 degrees outside, and I really don't feel like taking this into the kitchen, making a mess, or taking it outside and getting frozen. This is mostly cleaned out. It's mostly, you know, there's just some little flakes here and there that I think need, that if we can just pop those off. There's a couple flakes in here. I'm hoping that moving these around will just kind of rub those off and take it down. I don't know if you can see in here, there's that white spot. That was all flaky before. It's nice and smooth now. So hopefully this will fix the issue, at least let me drive it for another summer, and maybe if it becomes a problem again, I'll just do like a bigger job, because these tanks really need to be repainted. So maybe I can get through the summer with this. I can repaint the tanks at the end of the summer and have them cleaned out properly and relined and then repainted. I want to take that other tank off the bench, have it on the bike so it's out of my way, so I could finish the left side tank for the fuel delivery. So for now, I'm just going to tie wrap this loosely or loosely tightly, just enough so it's not pinching but also not flopping. So, alright. Just going to put the top bolt up here. Let's see if I can get this lined up properly. That's just to hold it in place. Once again, in the shop, nothing falls straight down. It falls and then goes off in some direction 10 feet, and there's no physical way that's even possible, but nonetheless, there it is. Got to get inside here, see if I can clean that. I don't know if I have a wire brush that'll fit, but it's clear otherwise. It's just surface rust, so it's probably not going to be a problem. Alright, so I'm just going to clean this up with a wire brush on a Dremel, and see if I start putting apart, taking this, putting together the top part. Alright, so now we have all the parts we need. This is going to go on top. So we have a screw, then a washer, then the top cap, lower cap. I think we're going to go with a spring, then a washer, then the rubber grommet. So the rubber grommet goes in first. So that's what we're looking at. The rubber grommet, a washer, spring, cap. So we go rubber grommet, washer, spring, cap. Alright. I'm going to need 2 hands for that, it looks like. Hold on 1 second. Okay. This is going to fix the problem by where when we're driving, like when we're riding, what was happening was this part, I'd have to hold it up, so I'd have to put a clamp there to hold it, otherwise it would just drop down. And it's okay because that has the regular tank, right? This is reserve, this is regular, but then it would screw down. And then what? It shuts off. And that happened to me once when I was riding. Funny enough, it happened literally as I was pulling into my parking spot. The bike shut off, and I'm like, uh-oh, now what? And then I realized this had completely shut itself. So I'm going to go ahead and replace all those rubber pieces. And now that we have the proper, there we go. I think I need to snug that down a little bit more. And hand tight, that should be all right. So the kit came with these 4 washers. I don't know if they just gave me extras or what. Oddly enough though, it shows 2. So we have the bottom piece, and we have what, 2 washers, and then the rod. That doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. I might have to look into that a little bit deeper, because I remember the last time I tried this leaked, and I ended up having to use this. So I ended up, if you notice here, this has the copper piece and the copper piece, and in between it is the cork. So from the heads where the push rods go, and it just happened to fit perfectly on there, and that actually sealed it up. So I'm a little leery of putting this in with the 2 But the problem is I haven't been able to find a good resource or any good videos. But of course, you know, once you put this on there, these are supposed to crush, and they're supposed to crush together, I guess. But I do have some copper gasket spray, so maybe that'll help. Bottom line is, I need to put this piece on, I guess, with 2 of these, right? Or maybe there's more, I don't know. But I'm going to put copper spray on these. That way when they do crush together, hopefully it won't leak. Okay, so I mocked up the fuel connector here, 2 copper gaskets, one on either side, and I guess I'm not going to put this on until it's on the bike, because I need to be able to line this up and put it in so that this lines up perfectly before I tighten all this. This way, so then I'll have to put the gaskets on, put this piece in, you know, spray it with the copper gasket spray, put it on, another one, spray it, put it on, put all this together, line all this up, then tighten it all down really good, and let these should crush in and provide a nice seal. So I think at this point I need to go work on the electrical, and I'll come back to this. And try to put this bottom bolt in. Can't really fit my finger in there. I'm try to feed that in there. Okay. And then I'll get this 1/2 inch on the other side. So putting this in is going to be a little wonky here. So I think what I'm going to do, let's see, I have to kind of slide it all in at once. You know what, I'm a little premature in my decisions before. I probably should have done exactly what I did not want to do, which is well, here we go. That might work. Okay. So I can get move this out of the way. This is the crossover. I need to get this connected on the other side. Let's see. There we go. All right. That was a little bit more difficult than it should have been. Connect this on this side. This is just going to be finger tight. This way I can locate everything perfectly before I tighten it all down. Try bringing it back through here, through the back end, or I should say through the front. That seemed to work out better before. All right. Yeah, that works out. I have my copper gaskets. I'm going to go only with the copper this time. Hopefully I won't have to take all this apart again and put in the other gaskets. But I did go and get new gaskets, so in theory this should be what I need and nothing more. There we go. I'll get it to bite. There we go. I think I got it. Get this out of the way. The easy thing to do is just to disconnect my clutch here, my mouse trap. I don't want to do that because it's set, it works, everything's fine. What once I take this apart, I have to readjust it. I don't want to do that. Last time I did that, I smashed my finger. Everybody knows what I mean. I also broke a fin, which I've had replaced and fixed when I had the heads done at Retro Cycle. So, all right, moving on with that. Once I get this tightened down, I'll come back and I'll hook up the gas line. But I want to make sure this is tight before I do the top side. This way I don't have to move it once that gasket's in there. Once that rubber grommet's in there, that should seal it up good. So let me go grab something to tighten this with. Now these are copper gaskets, so they should smush down and keep everything nice and sealed. But the last time I did this, I realized I did it wrong, and I doubled up the gaskets on the bottom and not the top, and that's where I ended up leaking. And so I ended up taking this apart and putting a rubber gasket in here instead of taking it all apart to do that properly. But now that I have it all apart, put the proper copper gasket here, tighten this down. In theory, according to the design, it shouldn't leak. Right? It says here in small print. Alright, let me see. And I can't get that to tighten anymore, so I'm going to try grabbing it one more time over here so I get some good leverage. Yeah, so that's not moving. I'm hoping that's going to be enough. If it's not, you know, what do I got to do? Come back here and hit it with a hammer? We'll see. This is where I'm going to put that rubber piece in. Alright, so here in the parts book, we have, looks like a screw. Let's do it this way. We got a screw and a washer. Let's see, got a big cap, a little cap, and a spring, and a washer, and then a grommet. So that's the order of operation. These pieces are going to go on last, so I'm going to put those aside. I'm going to go ahead and drop this in the grommet. We'll do the grommet, then the washer, spring, cap. Grommet, washer, spring, cap. This grommet is formed so it has kind of a flat on one side and a bevel on the other. That bevel is going to go towards the bottom, like so. We will put this washer, the spring. Alright, that's going to push everything down where it needs to be. Alrighty. This cap. Carefully use a pair of pliers to tighten that. Try to do it without stripping anything. We have the top. And a washer. Let's turn that over. All right. How frustrating is it? You have a tool in your hand, put it down, turn around, and it disappears. Luckily I have more than one screwdriver. Okay. So this is going to be our tie down, so I'm going to tighten that down. Get this nice and tight. There we go. So now I have the ability. Alright, so the fuel's on. That's the reserve. and now that'll stay up. I no longer have to use something to hold that up now. And when I want to close the fuel, and we're closed. Yeah, the prettiest part of the bike right there. Now we have this fuel line. It has a rubber grommet in there already. I'm not gonna change it quite yet. So this goes through the carburetor mounting bracket, which I put a hole in, and it just slipped in there. So go ahead and put this here. So I don't have a rubber grommet, but I do have this. This is a little seal, and it kind of fits in there. So what I'm going to do is pop this on here and put this little piece on here, and hopefully the two together will end up being a better seal, at least until I can get the right parts. And I think this is just 1/8 inch or 1/4 inch, might be a little bit bigger. This should hopefully just give me a little bit more rubber to work with. Now granted, I might need to replace the rubber gaskets, the rubber grommets in this line. In fact, I would pretty much guarantee it. Yeah, so that when it actually does connect, that'll kind of smush that rubber up in there. And that should help seal off any gas leaks. If I can get the thing started. There we go. Yeah, it's already more difficult to do, which is okay. That means it should be kind of squishing in and pushing out and pushing in, and give it a nice like a donut wrapped around here, and top and bottom. That should seal off any kind of fuel that wants to pop out, and that should be fine for now. Yeah. That's not touching there. This is nice and tight. I'm just going to go over it and tighten up the connector on the other side. There we go. Oh, yeah, I set them down here. Okay. I did that for a reason, because this is the vented cap. And this one, this is a non-vented cap. It's got a little bit of a dent in it. I don't care. Alright, so go on, high beam, low beam, and hopefully I can get this outside soon. But I do want to do a couple other things. So the front brake needs to be done. I don't have any front brake on this bike. It's completely useless. And also I have these bags. That was pretty solid. That one looks like its bracket fell off, so I might need to do a little bit here to tighten that up. I think I'm pretty much done with this one here. Just got to get that front off. Oh, and the other thing I want to do, which I'll show you here, that skid plate, that needs to go up under there. So once I get the front, when I go to work on the front brake, what I'm going to do, I'm going to lift the bike up so I'm not bending over so much. I can take the front wheel off, take that brake drum off. I'm going to see if I can cut it on the lathe, but I did get new pads. And since it's going to be a lot tighter now, we have a much, this front end now is rock solid. We have a steering damper in there for them. And it should be a little bit easier to handle with these handlebars. The last ones I had on here, I liked them, they looked cool. But riding wasn't exactly that comfortable. And finally, if I can get that other triple tree top fixed, I'll put it back on. It's not as nice as this, but it did come with the bike, and I wanted to have everything that was with the bikes. I might want to actually put this nacelle piece in eventually. It's not the full nacelle. It just basically bolts here and here. It's a cover. I think you have cowbells down here to cover, and then the top piece that would go over this if I'm not using this.